Tarkov might have one of the best discovery periods of any game in this genre. It's a magical time that allows people who are new and trying to figure out the game to feel as though their time investment has some tangible results. Sure, EFT is a weird, complex, and obtuse game in many different areas, menuing being so taxing and cumbersome, little quirks and oddities with many mechanics interacting with each other, but at its core, EFT is a well that feels bottomless when you first start playing. Or even for veterans, with each new wipe and major patch, it's a time everyone celebrates and gets to rediscover the old as well as the new, and what makes EFT such an addictive game when it's firing on all cylinders. There are some other games in different genres that also scratch this itch, but we'll make those comparisons once we establish and understand what EFT gets right in regard to overall discovery of the game and its mechanics. Today we'll be going over why Tarkov is at its best when people are learning and when it has something new and fresh to offer the player base, because with the exception of one other series of games, nothing even comes close. For anyone who has hundreds or even thousands of hours in the game, there isn't a ton of discovery happening unless something new is directly added into the game, and that doesn't happen every day. It's usually tied to either wipes or any major patch notes, so while those moments are becoming few and far between, they do feel extra special when they do happen. The Labyrinth event was a major example of this. A bunch of new quests, items, and an entirely new map to explore and figure out. People were raving about it as they were experiencing it for the first time. But there is something to be said about a brand new player jumping into the game for the first time and being completely overwhelmed by how much they need to figure out and remember. It's a genuinely daunting task, and combined with the knowledge of losing gear when you're taken out, it all adds a level of tension and stress that makes each new discovery or understanding a small victory in the eyes of EFT. No information is really handed out to new players when looking strictly at the game and only the game itself. There's basically no tutorial on how healing works, to modify weapons, where to go, or what to do. The quest flavor text can sometimes give you vague ideas of where items you need to find are located, but there's no giant red arrow telling you where to go. There is a ton of trial and error in this game, which, depending on who you ask, can either be a good or bad thing. Something doesn't work, well, just try it again, but mix it up this time. When mechanics really sink in, or you nail down exactly what you need to do for this rather obtuse quest, it feels like a small but genuine victory as a player. Now, some might argue that it's all pretty at the start, but once you sink enough time into the game, a lot of that freshness gets old and gross really fast, and there are some examples where this does have some credence to it. Using the flavor text again as an example, that information just ends up being filler for the most part, and you just find yourself looking at the wiki to see exactly what you need to do and where you need to go. Gunsmith is another example. Build this gun with these stats or this weight or with these specific parts. It ends up just being easier to look up or watch a video, but I would still say that for the first time, for these moments, it should be done right, which is to figure it out yourself. Make mistakes, fail, and try again until you are victorious. It ends up being a more satisfying experience in the end instead of just looking it up to expedite the process as a whole. One of the best feelings in any game once you start playing it is learning how the game works and really figuring out its mechanics. Especially with games that have been designed with larger learning curves in mind, they can be quite intimidating if you've only ever seen some footage online or heard about it from your friends. But for the most part, I like to think we enjoy a challenge, and Tarkov is more than willing to provide one. I can't speak for anyone else, but it's easily the hardest game I've ever played. Tons of knowledge checks that need to be learned on the fly, and even with information from a website at my immediate disposal, having to use it while in raid can be really tough. At least it was back in the day when everything was still new. But I've said this before, if you are committed to getting better and are dedicated to the cause, the experience can be worth the time. You get better, your knowledge grows, and most importantly, your confidence goes up as well, which is something a lot of new players lack when learning EFT. Having the confidence to try something new and experiment, or to take the risk of getting that quest item knowing you can handle your own if a fight breaks out. Those moments can only be earned. You can't buy your way to having the knowledge to know what to do under most circumstances. It just comes down to time invested. And most people that can get over the initial hump of learning the basics for EFT end up getting engrossed by the game. And once that happens, you start to appreciate the game more. That leads to replay value, which is also good. I've always found it so fascinating how this game can just grab you and pretty much never let go. The only other franchise I can think of that gave me the same feelings that EFT did when I was learning them were the Souls games. Their difficulty was known about before I played them, but going into it I was still nervous about how I would perform and whether or not I would be able to actually learn them. And while I initially put about 2 or 3 hours into Dark Souls 1, I eventually moved on, and then it clicked when I played Bloodborne, which made going back to older and newer games even easier, because not only was the discovery period fun, but I now had some level of confidence going into other games. Any mechanics that transferred between the games was now second nature, and the stats and how I level up my character wasn't alien scripture anymore. And there is comfort in knowing how something works. There's comfort in having the knowledge to understand something after experiencing it enough previously. And EFT very much scratches that itch if you spend enough time with it. So not only are you learning the mechanics of the game, but you're also getting a feel for how it works, and that makes you a better, confident, and more comfortable player. But not too comfortable, of course. We're still talking about Tarkov. It always has a trick up its sleeve to keep you on edge. You can't always be 100% confident that you're safe. Another player or AI can just walk in on you looting and end your raid then and there. And for a game to be able to elicit all those feelings into one experience is special in my book. Tarkov's learning curve is certainly way higher than many other games out there. Not the highest, but certainly enough to deter people away. But for those who take the plunge, try the game, and maybe get hooked on it, the experience from novice to veteran is certainly an interesting and fascinating story that we all share at one point or another. The gratification from getting better isn't immediate, especially considering all that you need to understand. But there is little satisfaction in anything in life if it comes immediately. The best things are earned, and being able to confidently play Tarkov and appreciate all the discovery you did to get there absolutely falls into that category. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Let me know down in the comment section below your thoughts on the discovery period in EFT, what your personal experience was like learning the game, and be sure to subscribe for more videos about the long process of learning a game that is amazing, but also obtuse and silly in many other areas. I hope to see you in future ones.